Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversation with Calvin, We the Species. Um, I always like to be chronological. We're in the middle of, we're actually in the middle of March. 2 days ago, it was 79 degrees here in the Garden State. That's New Jersey. Just 5 minutes ago, before I got on air with Natalie, I looked at the weather and it's talking about some snow tonight. It's kind of funny because we had some really bad weather here. A few weeks ago it was didn't get over 20 degrees for 2 weeks. I mean, it was cold, and then we had that blizzard. And it's so funny that first it was 73, and then the next day 79, and everybody's running around in shorts. And it's so far, and there's still piles of snow around, and it's one of the funniest things. It's like a movie set because it's 79 degrees. People are walking around in shorts, t-shirts, and snow is melting. But anyway, it's going to snow tonight. I'm so excited about that. Can you feel my exuberance about? I'm with Natalie Horseman, and Natalie and I are like family because we really are. We're part of Kay Wagner's Bold Authors Network, something I discovered a year ago.
Mhm.
It's over a year ago in January, and that was her first meeting. Natalie's part of that. I'm part of that. It's such an amazing group. We're all self-published indie authors, and we're all bonded with our journey.
Mhm.
And Natalie is an implementer because she works with Kay and doing all that kind of stuff. And it took me a while to get around to interviewing. I call us family, part of a family, and I got a chance to get to really know Natalie because it's really hard to get to know anybody when you're in that Zoom box,
Mhm.
you know and everybody's on the screen there, and the group has grown, and it's amazing. And lots of things I have to say about Natalie. Natalie is an acclaimed and award-winning children's book author. Um, and I'm not just saying this. I was on the team that read the ARC team, I guess. Yep,
Mhm.
back in around actually it was around Halloween.
Mhm.
And this is a testimony. I think I wrote this on a review I did for Bumpy Pumpkin, which we're going to talk about momentarily. I had my two and so I got a copy of the book, and my two grandkids were here. They live nearby, and I said, "Oh, and her name, they're Raleigh and Logan." I said, "Come here, I want to read you a book." And I read them the book, uh, and I said, "Grandpa, read it again." I said, "Okay." They loved, they loved, as I did, Bumpy Pumpkin. And my wife, was a fourth grade teacher for 35 years. I don't know if I mentioned that to you. She's been an educator, loved your book. So we're here to talk to Natalie today about a bunch of different things. The other bonding thing with Natalie, she uh, works with Duke Heart Center. Did I get that right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
She's been a nurse, and we talked about that. And my cardiologist, or like, besides being great friends, they're gods to me. They've taken me along and kept me healthy and stuff. And so she's involved in that. So this is a very special session with Natalie. So I'm done with my rather lengthy monologue, but it was necessary. So why don't you say some words, and then we'll jump into some stuff.
Well, thank you so much, Calvin. I am very honored to be here. And yeah, I can't believe it's been a year that we've been connected and gotten to know each other. And really, I love what you said, become family, because the author community, we need each other, right? We need each other to support and celebrate and help each other through all the wonderful adventures of being an author. So it has been so wonderful to get to know you. And I'm just, yeah, very excited to be here. So thank you.
Good. Yeah, yeah, we are family. And we were saying that before we went on air, and it's become a little bit of a core celeb for me that very few people out there really know what it means to be an author. Nobody does because nobody lives through it. And it's so funny because I've had a lot of issues
Mhm.
with support and people in my life not understanding what my emotions are.
Mhm.
Uh, and 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 I've been married 49 years. That's heavy duty numbers.
Yeah.
Um, Next year it'd be 50. That scares the hell
Wow.
out of me. Yeah, that's a half century. And my wife really certainly better than I know myself,
Hmm.
not trite, but she knows me. But we sat down at the kitchen table last week, and I said, you know me better than anybody on earth. You know me better than I know me, and you're amazing that way. But you know what you don't know? What it feels like to be an author.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very
Why?
true.
Yeah, you just don't know that. You can't know it because you never sat down for 5 years, uh, 365 days a year to write, sitting in this little cubicle here. So anyway, so let's talk about you. Um,
All right.
so you spent 20 years in what I call high stakes, healthcare and leadership and stuff. When and I love this question. I mean, it's heavy duty stuff. You're still doing heavy duty stuff and
Mhm.
amazing stuff. When did you first realize you were a storyteller?
Gosh, that is such a great question. I have wanted to write children's books for probably my entire adult life. I have loved them since I was a kid. I have wonderful memories of story time with my family. And it was one of those things as I became a nurse, I was like, oh, I'll just get to it later. I'll do it sometime when the time is right. And Calvin, before I knew it was 20 years later. And I'm like, if I'm going to do this, let's just sit down and do it. Let's see what happens. And I don't know if I actually knew I was a storyteller till I did it and absolutely fell in love. And when I started getting, feedback from people about the books, I thought, okay, I have stories and people are enjoying them. Kids are enjoying them, grandparents with their grandkids. And I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to dive into it head first. Let's see what happens. And so I've always had these stories in my head, but what I didn't really know I could do it. Didn't really believe I could do it. It was a lot of self-doubt. And I said, let's just do it. Let's dive in. Let's see what happens. And the rest is history, as I love to say. So,
Well,
yeah.
before Bumpy Pumpkin, and I'm not familiar with this, but you wrote Goat
Hmm.
on the Go series, which did really, really well.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how did that goat thing come about?
So I actually have a goat. He does not live with me. He lives at a farm not too far away, and his name is Scout that I adopted 4 years old right after he was born. And so 2 years ago, when I said, you know what, Natalie, shut up, just do it, write the book, let's see what happens. My very first story actually was The Bumpy Pumpkin. That was the very first one I wrote. But because of the time of the year and working with an editor, she said, you really want to time this so that you can promote it during that fall Halloween season. So even though Bumpy Pumpkin was my first story, the Goat on the Go books came out first. And so, and working with her, she's like, do you have any other stories? Is there anything else you want to write about? And I was like, I have this very mischievous goat. He is very curious. He's never in his pen. He's always on adventures. And he reminds me a lot of kids, real kids. And I thought, we can write stories about this. And so I started writing the Goat on the Go series that kind of features Scout's adventures. It's all about friendship and exploring and asking questions. And yeah, now he has three books about his adventures. And then I put in the Bumpy Pumpkin in the middle of all of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Again, I have to show the Bumpy Pumpkin. It's just great. By the way, it's so important for that age to begin to understand that some people are different,
Hmm.
and the way you
Yeah.
did it, it's just done so beautifully.
Thank
Um,
you.
and listen, I call it as I see it. I saw my grandkids respond to
Mhm.
that, and that they were glued to that. And these are kids that don't have long attention spans, but they wanted grandpa to read it again, which I did happily. So anyway, um, was there a moment when you realized that nursing and writing children's books stopped feeling like two separate things and became like one integrated thing for you.
Yes, because in healthcare, we serve others. We are helping others. We're mending others. We're helping them to get better. We're their support system. We're communicators, and that very much carries over into storytelling, which I have learned, and especially writing books for kids. You're wanting to explain things in a way that they can understand and they can relate to. And I spent most of my career in pediatrics, and so working with kids and families, explaining difficult things, helping them understand what was going on, in details that they can relate to is very, very important. And that comes across in storytelling as well. And I knew my books, I wanted them to have a lesson, but it not be in their face, not be preachy, help them be able to relate to either the Bumpy Pumpkin or Scout the Goat and see themselves or their family members or their siblings in the characters. And so it's very much like nursing and healthcare is, that communication piece, that storytelling, that making things relatable and so that others, regardless of their age or background, can understand, the message that you're trying to put across.
Okay. Okay. So in what you're doing now, uh, with Duke and the heart centers and
Mhm.
trying to lift up cardiology departments, that requires leadership,
Mhm.
extreme leadership. I know how the hierarchical of world of medicine
Mhm.
is. I've had little glimpses
Yeah.
of that. Um, I like this question too. It's a little heavy, It's still it's still morning, so I can be
Yeah.
heavy in the morning. I'm looking to see the time, so it's still morning. So how would you, Natalie, define leadership?
Oh
Tough question.
gosh. It's a tough question. And I think for me, being a leader is again it's not about dictating things to me. It is about being a support system. It's about being a resource. It is about being someone that can help navigate challenges and break down barriers. And so for me, kind of my leadership style is it's a collective we. How can we as a, team, collaboration, partnership, make things better for whatever we're doing. So, most of my work is with patients and patient outcomes. So, how could collectively can we make things better? And so, it is helping to bring people together in that collective way to have a very positive outcome. And so for me, that's what leadership is. And it's not about I or you or us. It's all of us working together and getting that whole group to move towards that goal. And so, and it looks different depending on the scenario or the environment. But again, I see it as being a resource and communicator and just that individual that helps to bring everyone together so that we're all aligned and on the same page to achieve those goals.
Not easy sitting
Mhm.
where you sit.
Yeah.
You have to balance precision.
Hmm.
Talking cardiology, you got to balance precision with compassion.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
you got to do both. So that's a tough, in that world, that medical world is a tough world, and you do it. By the way, do you get because I mean that's listen, what you're doing is intense stuff, and helping other facilities, upgrade and I mean that's just tough stuff. And sometimes I think it, but you're able to go and balance that toughness with writing such amazing children's books.
Hmm.
Not easy, is it?
It's not, and it's interesting. Again, I didn't know I would love writing as much as I do, and it has become just this huge passion project that I look forward to getting back to, at the end of kind of my nursing day. I'm nurse by day, writer by night, and it's just this wonderful creative outlet. And I think it's really helped me find my own voice as well. And it's just been this incredible outlet that, yeah, it's just so much a part of my everyday now. Yeah.
It's also part for me, part of the medical world from my glimpses,
Mhm.
and I was on an advisory committee at
Mhm.
medical school. I did that for 5 years, so I get glimpses. Um, but the whole world, that whole corporate world, to me is a manifestation of lean management. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm being careful with my words. Lean, tough
Yes.
management,
Yeah.
cost-effective management. Um, what did you through all that?
Hmm.
You what did you learn about people? And has some of that been transferred, into characters like the Bumpy Pumpkin or Goat?
Yeah, you're right. With healthcare, lean management is a big part of it. It's a difficult world and it's ever changing, and so one thing that is very critical, I think, with all healthcare providers is being able to pivot and being able to adjust to what is kind of thrown at you in the moment. And it's interesting, kids have to do that as well. They just don't quite understand what it is. And so in storytelling, in fact, my newest Good on the Go book is about when your plans change and you have to pivot and you adjust and you make the best of things. And so it's very interesting how things that are happening in the adult healthcare world, so to speak, also translate into what kids experience. It's just on a much, smaller scale. And so, yeah, it's very interesting. Communication is so important, not only with healthcare, but also with children and books and getting messages across and helping them learn. And again, in a way that they can understand and identify with. And that's the same with healthcare and working with adults. You've got people of different backgrounds, different roles, different expectations, and scope of practice. And so you're always having to kind of tailor what you're doing, your work, your communication based on that audience and individuals you're working with. And it's the same with kids' books or writing for any kind of genre.
Okay, okay. Um, interesting. And I when I love how my grandkids respond to books, and I can't tell you how many times when we're there, oh, Grandpa, read this,
I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
and, um, so what a balance, children's books, healthcare, uh, and I don't know, and you can skirt over this, this is not formal stuff, but I often wonder if healthcare systems lose track of some elemental qualities of human beings.
Hmm.
I mean, it does happen, I guess, if that's a valid question. Uh,
Sure.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and I think too, with all that's going on, it's easy to lose sight of what's at the center, and that is the patient, right? And their family. And I see a lot of just healthcare individuals and providers working really hard to get back to what is that main goal and kind of not ignore the noise that's going on, but what is our core focus? What is our sole purpose? And that is to take care of patients. And so it can be really hard with all the kind of distractions going on and all the other elements that can impact the care that's delivered. But I do know, individuals are trying really hard to focus on what is most important, and that is the patient ultimately. Yeah.
as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking it's better now than it's ever been before. The
Hmm.
understanding and the corporate understanding, and I'm shooting from the hip here because
Hmm.
we collectively, our little group talks about AI quite a bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and with the advent and the growth of AI, I mean, it's funny. I read an article in Time Magazine, 4 or 5 or 6 months ago, and they singled out one particular AI as
Hmm.
being really good in diagnosing, and probably better than
Oh, okay. Yeah.
it was. Time Magazine. It said,
Hmm.
Microsoft actually said it was better than a doctor. I mean, I never buy that. Nevertheless, it's a great reference. But what I'm saying to you
Hmm.
is all this stuff with AI is going to work for the betterment
Hmm.
of patients because it brings everybody up on the learning curve and it makes healthcare, the corporate better. That's what
Yes.
I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a tool. It's a resource. It's another, when resources are so thin as it is, to have something else that can help pull things from the medical record and put it all together in a format that's easy for a physician to run through or pull notes or Yeah, it's just a tool. It's like having an assistant right there in your pocket. So again, it's not a substitute for that medical provider, but it's to help them continue to do their work in a most efficient, effective way. So again, it's back to, taking care of the patient, doing what's best. And if we have tools that can help that and streamline that process, then yeah, it's a great resource and tool to have. And it's ever changing and developing and evolving to something that I think is going to be right there,
Yeah,
with any provider moving forward in the medical field.
yeah. We- I joke
Mhm.
when I grew up, because I'm an old timer. I hate saying that. Well, I really do. I hate saying that I'm an old timer, but I look in the morning and I'm shaving. Calvin, you're an old timer, and I don't want to. I don't want to admit that. But back in my day, we used to hear that the world is changing. It's changing like every 10 years. It used to be every 50 years. Now
Sure.
it's every 10 years. Now my observation is every 15 minutes.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, it filters down,
Mhm.
to healthcare, and
Yeah.
it's just a better world that's coming, better than it is now. So that,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're right in the middle, of all that, and the respect I have for what you're doing because I love cardiology stuff, and
Mhm.
I read a million articles on cardiology, and the advancements. I mean, I've seen such great things in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
So. Moving on uh, to the Bumpy Pumpkin.
Hmm.
Um, what inspired specifically the Bumpy Pumpkin? Was it a story you needed as a child, or you saw that it's pretty easy? You saw that children needed
Hmm.
this kind of teaching.
It's a combination of all of that. I will tell you honestly, again, wanting to write a story, and I knew I am a big lover of fall, Halloween, and I was like, this will just make me happy to write a story that is set kind of in that time of year. And I love what I call funky pumpkins, the ones that are different. I have been the one that likes to pick up the different ones, different colors, different shapes, the ones that look a little different, a little odd. And I actually on my table had a bumpy pumpkin, and it just immediately came to me. I called it the bumpy pumpkin, and I was like, it is. A lot of times you see these different types of pumpkins left in the pumpkin patch, right? Or at the store, people pick around them. And I immediately said, this is so relevant not only to adults, but kids, something that's different. And sometimes it's avoided, it's skirted around, it's not addressed, it's not accepted. So, what kind of story could we have around this? And I thought, oh, you've got the different pumpkin that's worried it won't be picked for Halloween, and it's, teased a little bit by the ones that look normal, so to speak. And it just takes one little girl who falls absolutely in love with it to change its whole perspective and loving, what it is. And it's different and it has these bumps and it's different colors. And it was like, it just came right away. I mean, looking at it, and I thought this story is relevant on so many different levels. And I started to think, how can I tell it in a way that kids will relate to? And it's one of those things that even if kids are not readers yet, not of that age, they can look at the pictures and see you've got a smooth round pumpkin, and then you've got the funky one with the bumps and the colors, and they can see the difference. But they can see the different one is still loved and celebrated and appreciates itself for what it is. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of a combination of everything, and it just kind of wrote itself as I was working on it.
Huh? How long did it take you to do that?
Very quick, like an afternoon. Just sat down
Wow.
and wrote it.
Wow.
Now, it took many revisions because I
Okay.
tend to be very wordy and put a lot of words in it. And because it was my first children's book, I had to learn that the pictures are also going to tell a lot of the story. So taking out some words and letting the pictures really do that kind of illustration, so to speak, of what was happening. And so then it took many edits to pare it down, but writing it was very easy. And then, working with a beautiful illustrator and really getting that vision in my head to come across in those images.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kelsey is a
Kelsey
phenomenal.
Marshall, yeah, she's
Yeah, she's
wonderful.
quite an illustrator. As I'm looking at that,
Yeah.
uh, By the way, I'm looking. It's like you want to reach out and hug that pumpkin.
Yes, yeah.
Honest to God, it's really great illustration, and that's part.
Hmm.
I'm not, and I never will be. I'm announcing that now. I will
Hmm.
never be a children's. It's not in me.
Yeah.
Um, which is leads me to um, why do you think that children understand self-acceptance and those kind of lessons more intuitively than adults?
Yeah.
Why are they?
Um, they have not had years of societal pressures. They have not been influenced. They have not, experienced or seen these things. They're just open-minded. They're, just as innocent as they can be. And so they um they just have friends. They have, it doesn't matter if they're purple, green, tall, short, have glasses or not. They're their friends or their family. And so they are not born knowing that someone is different and that that means something bad. They can recognize that we may be different colors, maybe different, heights, have differences, but they don't know it means anything bad. It does not. But as we grow up, we get those kind of messages, and that's how we're influenced by, those who raise us, by the community, by, things we see on TV. And so it's easy for kids just to be like, everyone's my friend, because they don't know any different until they start to kind of hear those messages as they grow up. Yeah.
It's funny what you just said. When my son was, I don't know, 7, 6, 7, we went to the beach, and it was my philosophy just to take off of what you said. We never talked about different colors in
Hmm.
this house, different shapes, different colors, and all that. Uh, there's nothing to talk about. People are people, and
Yeah.
wife being an educator, she agreed. It just so we went to the beach, and my son found a friend, and it was black, and it was
Hmm.
beautiful, black, white playing together, and it was just the most natural
Yes.
thing. There was
Hmm.
no, it was just a natural human thing, and I got such a kick out of that. And maybe I'm crazy, but that kind of laissez-faire and that natural
Hmm.
expression helped his development
Sure.
as a young
Yeah.
man, now middle age. Uh,
Yeah.
that's scary. I just said, my son's middle age officially,
Yeah.
which therefore means I'm old age officially. I keep harping on that subject.
Yeah.
Um, um, Continuing. So this is semi-heavy because it's semi-heavy. Uh,
Hmm.
um, uh, does your background in healthcare influence the way you write? Because you're dealing with issues of like emotional safety,
Hmm.
and this healthcare helps you be better at what you're doing.
Yes, I think that is an absolute true statement. And again, I think it comes down to, especially in nursing, we're having to do so much. We do so much direct, patient and family care and communication, and we're always adjusting how we say things based on the individuals we're working on. And that's the same with storytelling. And so, working with kids, and writing books for children, you know, I task myself with writing things in a way that a child would understand and could relate to. Even if they don't understand all the words, can the pictures help supplement the message? And so I definitely think, being a nurse and being in healthcare has kind of helped how I work on that message and how I, try to get the story across and the lesson in a way that is relatable. And let's say, not preachy, but also not over their heads, just really kind of at that basic fundamental level. And I have found too that the book is a great reminder for adults because I mean, we we forget to love ourselves, right? Um we forget to have compassion and patience with ourselves. And so it is also a great reminder for adults that we all deserve to be loved and celebrate ourselves. And I think it gets harder as we get older.
Nicely said. Um, I want to go off topic. I didn't
Mhm.
forewarn you. It's no big deal. But I borrowed this next question from my favorite journalist, Barbara Walters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and she's such a hero of mine. I don't think we even grasp the full extent of just how amazing she was and the
Mhm.
people she interviewed. I mean, literally all over the world, and everybody wanted to be interviewed by. Anyway, um, so here goes. And this is fun, and it could be a couple answers. There's no rules here. Excluding family or friends,
Mhm.
somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Oh my goodness. Wow, there are so many people. Um, it's funny that that you mentioned I think earlier when we were talking someone who had a picture with Meryl Streep. I would love, love, love to spend a day with her. Not only incredibly talent, but just her experience and all the different, gosh, things that she's done across genres. I just find her extremely fascinating, and I just feel like would have this amazing depth and view on just life in general. And I have just always just admired her, and I just think it would be just to be like, let's talk. Let me pick your brain. Let me see what life is like for you and your perspective and your experiences that have shaped and how she can transform herself and characters and get stories across is just remarkable. And so what is that process like? And yeah, I have so many questions. I would love, love to hang
Great,
out with her for a day.
great
Yeah.
answer. I don't know if
Yeah.
you know, I was in a movie with her.
Calvin, no.
You
What?
don't know.
I
And
do not
actually,
know.
you know about my project. I announced that project to our group. I've been writing celebrities,
Yes. Yeah.
and she was one of the first persons I wrote because she and I have some interesting connections.
Hmm.
It was 1997. I'm a bit of a groupie, and I found out from my sister that they're making a major motion picture in my hometown called Maplewood, New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
Cute little town. It got a little train station, Norman Rockwell train station.
Yes. Yeah.
And I said, "Oh wow!" And it was toward the end of the movie, and my sister said, "Hey, you want to go watch them film it?" And I'm a groupie. I said, "Yeah, this is great." So I got dressed. It was November '97. It was cold. It was the end of November, and it was an outside scene. And I remember my wife seeing me get dressed, and I'm running out of the house. She said, you go running to all these things, you think you're going to be in a movie." And I said, no, she actually said a disparaging word to me, but I'll leave that off at this point. Anyway, we ran out, and my sister and I, we met in Maplewood, and it was a Christmas scene, and Meryl Streep is dying. The movie's called One True Thing.
Hmm.
She was nominated for the
Wow.
Academy Award for that movie. And it's a Christmas scene. She's dying. It's near the end of the movie, and it's a 3 block little town, cute little town, and they transformed all
Hmm.
the storefronts and everything. It was amazing what they did, but everything was shut down. You couldn't get. And then they broke for dinner, and the stores went into this movie theater for dinner to keep warm. And the
Hmm.
police said, "We got word if anybody wants to get a container of milk or a slice of pizza, we'll let you through." And they let my sister and I. We sat down
Oh, wow.
and we set a New Jersey state record. We were eating one slice of pizza shared for an hour and a half. So we're taking little bites. And
Yeah,
after
just taking your time. Yeah.
taking our time, and then all of a sudden, there was a machine making snow, and people
Hmm.
are running around. I said, "This is great. Let's just go out and watch till they chase us away." So we
Hmm.
walked out, and we were standing underneath. It's almost like an Art Deco old movie theater, and everybody was inside, and we're just watching. And then, you get that feeling sometimes, Natalie, that somebody's standing next to you.
Hmm.
And I kind of looked, and Meryl Streep was right next to me. And then William Hurt and Renee Zellweger and the director
Oh,
Paul Franklin. So
yes.
I'm a semi-friendly guy. I turned to her and I started telling her how much I admire all her work. And we
Yes.
just chatting a little bit there. And while I'm chatting with her like that, some production assistant sees me talking to her and assumed I was part of that entourage. So he came over to me, with the headphones and stuff. He said, "We got to place you now." So I said, "Okay." And he takes me right smack in the middle of the set, and he looks at me and says, "Do you know everything you have to say and do?" I said, "Well, it's been a long day. Maybe
My gosh, Calvin.
you can go over it one more time."
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
said, all right. And he tells me, at the appropriate moment, the mayor's going to turn the lights on. We're going to sing Silent Night and blah, 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 blah. I said, that's great. I'm good. And then the
Wow.
realization set in that, shoot, I'm going to be in a movie with Meryl Streep. And it's so funny now because when they placed me, there's like 100 people, in the town square there. I'm just an extra. I'm not.
Yeah.
And I'm in the back. And I said, I said to my sister, we got this far. I'm going up front. And you actually see me in the movie.
I am so watching it today. I'm gonna
You
look for
actually
you.
see me in the movie, kind of you see me walking and I move my way and hey, I'm 6'5", and of course I was the biggest thing in that scene, and I'm in the movie.
Wow. That
And
is an amazing story. I
it's an
love
amazing
that.
story. It's funny.
Wow.
My son started dating his wife, Delilah, and she had met me a couple of times. And one Saturday morning, she lived in Long Island. And one Saturday morning, she was home watching TV, and this movie, One True Thing, came on.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, and of course, you can't not see me at the end of the movie. She picked up the phone and she called my son, Neil, and said, it's the funniest thing. I'm watching this movie, One True Thing, and there's a guy in this movie who looks just like your father. So my son said, no, that is my father.
That is amazing. Oh, that is a wonderful story. I
It's a
can't believe
wonderful
I don't
story.
know that one. That's great.
It's
Yes.
it's one of my
Yeah.
favorite, 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 favorite stories. Anyway,
Yes.
do you have any favorite movies, by the way? Um,
Yes, but too many to name. I
oh, okay.
love movies. It is such a wonderful, just gosh, not only escape, but just I will tell you the thing that I just recently watched that I loved by PBS. It was a recent remake of The Count of Monte Cristo. Um,
Wow.
I, it is beautiful. The
Wow.
scenery, the artwork, the costumes, the act. It's wonderful. So for me, movies are a full immersion into another world, and so I love all kinds, all genres. But yeah, I recently watched that. It's amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, okay. I gotta check that out. I like that story anyway.
Yeah, oh,
Um,
it's very well done. Yeah, very well done.
So back to business. So
Hmm.
Bumpy worries he won't be chosen,
Hmm.
which is a universal fear. Why do
Yes.
you think that message is so important right now?
Um, Gosh, yeah, it's important for anyone of any age. There is a lot of exclusion that happens because of various differences. Sometimes they're seen and not seen, and I think all of us have experienced at some point that feeling of not being selected or excluded, or actually have been excluded or not picked for the team or whatever, what have you. And it is something that everyone can, I think, relate to. And I think I don't know if we're seeing it more now, but people are talking about it more and talking about how that impacts individuals and how we need to be more inclusive and loving and, celebrate each other and differences. And so I'm not sure it's necessarily happening more, but people are talking about it. And I think kind of rising to the occasion and saying, look, like, let's include everyone in whatever X, Y, and Z, whatever scenario. And so I think it's kind of a universal message, depending, it doesn't matter your age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, what reactions from parents and children to Bumpy have kind of surprised you?
My one goal in writing a book, and I said, if this happens once, this has had made my life as an author, and that was to have some type of connection moment between an adult and a child. Again, growing up, I have the most wonderful memories of story time with my mom, my aunt, my grandmother. I still have all my childhood storybooks. They would write notes in them, they would give them to me for my birthday. And it's just such a special time. And I was a kid that always went to the library that came out with a stack of books. Um, and so my hope was that someone else would experience that. And I was actually at an event, a grandmother bought the Bumpy pumpkin for her granddaughter. And gosh, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, she came back and looked a little upset. I was like, goodness, are you okay? Can I help you? I had no idea what was going on. And she said, I just read the book with my granddaughter, and it was the most special moment. It was just the two of us, fully engaged, and we got to have a conversation about the pumpkin. And she said it was just such a special moment, and I had to come tell you. And I thought, my life is made. This is why I did it. And for anyone to have that type of connection is amazing. And so to hear your story about with your grandchildren and that kids light up with it and they can identify with the bumpy pumpkin, and that adults can relate to it. Many adults have said, hey, I was a kid growing up that had glasses and I felt like I didn't fit in. And it's just those connection moments. But to have someone tell me those stories just like you, it means the world. And that's why I write. I want someone to have that same experience. Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice, 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 nice. Uh, okay, so you mentor now. We're kind of changing directions a little bit. You mentor future healthcare leaders.
Mhm.
Um, what do you wish more leaders were taught early on as part of their learning process?
Um, Having clinical knowledge is important. Having compassion, I would say, is just as important, if not more. So being able to relay information, to be sympathetic, empathetic to whatever a patient or family is going through is so important. And spending an extra few minutes showing that compassion, showing that support, being that resource can be life-changing for a patient and family. And so it is very important to have that clinical knowledge, be that clinical expert, but compassion goes hand in hand, and it's so important. And I think we can lose that. We are so clinically driven. We are here to take care of our problem. We are here to make things better. But you've got to have that emotional, intelligent part of it. And it can be hard to teach. It's hard, especially if people have brought up and that has not been a big part of their life and education, learning to be compassionate. And patient and show grace and yeah, just be available emotionally, I think is just as important as that clinical aspect. Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, I'm actually writing some things. Did you notice I'm
I,
doing some writing?
I did, yeah.
I'm one of I take notes in case thing all the time. People laugh at me. I'm always taking notes, and
Hmm.
I'm taking notes, on the things you're saying. So forgive me, but just what I do. Um, is there a myth about leadership that you'd like to retire?
Oh goodness. I immediately so many things come to mind. It's interesting as a everyone has, I think, a different perspective of their leaders, whatever area they're working in. And I think one thing people who are currently not in a leadership position don't understand is how hard it is and how challenging it can be. And so having that appreciation for all the pressure that they are under, they're, having to do more with less, all the budgetary constraints, all the changes that are going on with rules and regulations and laws. And so I think it's hard for people to not to realize that, a lot of times leaders are the ones that are sharing that message, that are helping people to make changes and implement it. And, it's not just a quick decision. A lot of things, gosh, it takes so much to come to certain conclusions and to make certain choices and changes. And it's hard to not be frustrated with certain cuts. And I think one thing that people can do is ask more questions of the leaders, to try to get a better understanding of what's going on so that they are in the know, that they have the most up-to-date information. And, I think being a leader in any role is challenging, but especially in healthcare right now. Yeah.
Um, what we do, what we do, aside from your corporate medical stuff, but what we do as writers, someday I'd love to write about writing, just
Hmm.
the whole thing. But I guess each one of us, in our own way, has to kind of find a certain repository, a certain place for renewal. we got to renew
Hmm.
ourselves, especially you, because you know I can't even fathom that corporate medical.
Hmm.
I mean, I dabbled just as on a committee in a hospital, but
Hmm.
I can't even imagine what you do. So, long-winded question: what do you do for renewal? I watch Casablanca.
Hmm.
That's me. But so, what do you
Yes.
do for renewal, man?
I have a couple. Movies is definitely one. Television, getting immersed in something that truly kind of takes you to another world and kind of gives you that little escape. Going to the farm and seeing Scout and the animals, just being outside, being able to be in the sunshine, take a breath, take a mental break. And then also writing, even if it's not a current project, but kind of working on something. Again, takes the ideas out of my head, gets them on paper, and it's just such a great kind of release of that energy. So yeah, just a couple of things like that, just a good outlet for everything else that's going on in my life and the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny, your thing with animals, you don't know. There's some things coming out about me. I'm glad you know my Meryl Streep story. It's
Yeah.
funny. The other part of that story is I'm friendly with a professor um, from Rutgers, written like 20 books.
Wow.
He's a professor. He was chairman of the Department of American Studies. He actually rented his house to the movie studio.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So Meryl Streep was in his house for 6 months
That's amazing.
up in
Yeah.
Morristown, New Jersey. And
Hmm.
she's from that area. She's
Hmm.
from that Morris County, New Jersey. So, but anyway, um, it what you're saying is so interesting, and the renewal and all that. Um, anyway, so um, what does caring for humans when they're at their most vulnerable teach teach us about who we are as a species?
Hmm.
You're seeing people at such a vulnerable place, and does it teach you things in particular about us as a species?
Um, I think it shows me how easy it is to take life for granted. And I think not everyone, but I think a lot of people, we just get caught up in the day to day and we don't remember that we've got one life. We've got a beginning, we've got, all the middle, and then there is an end. And life is more than just working every day. From someone who has put the pedal to the metal and really just spent a lot of time focusing on career, I forgot about myself and life and how to enjoy things. And it wasn't until I kind of took a pause that I went, there's so much more to it than just this. And so when you see people who are at their end of life, what I want is not to be at that point and have regrets. And so now focusing very much on trying to be present and in the moment and enjoy things. And life is fleeting and it is here and then it is gone. And we never know when that time is. And so trying to make the most of it, I think is so important. And with our culture and our drive and many people being career driven, you forget that and you lose it. And then the time is up. And I don't want to be one of those people who had a lot of regrets or what ifs. And so that's kind of where the book came from. Just sit down and do it. Who knows what's going to happen, but do it. So if there's something you want to take a chance on, want to explore, want to do, you know, um, no time like the present because, yeah, you never know when that time will be here and you want to enjoy the time you do have.
Right, right. As I said, I got sidetracked. I was telling you, your commitment to animals, your
Mhm.
goat. In 1975, in my commitment
Mhm.
to animals, environmentally and
Mhm.
humanitarily, I stopped eating anything with four
Mhm.
legs.
Yeah,
So I haven't eaten anything with four legs since 1975.
yeah, yeah.
That's my commitment.
Mhm.
And I'll leave it at that. And it's powerful. And by the way, cardiologically speaking,
Hmm.
did wonders. Because
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
by the way, it did wonders. And I get into these debates all the time with my cardiologist, my gastroenterologist. Yeah, I haven't had anything with four legs since 75. You think it's contributed to my zero coronary artery plaque? Well, not necessarily, because you know what? Actually, nobody knows.
Sure. Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
knows. So, as we kind of wind down,
Hmm.
um, I love going back to Bumpy Pumpkin because I love that character. I really do. So, if Bumpy Pumpkin had one sentence
Hmm.
to give to adults, what would it be?
Mm. You're beautiful just as you are, bumps and all. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice, nice, nice. Last thing. Last thing. What's next
Oh
for
my
you?
goodness. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, for you. What's next?
Yeah. So continuing with children's books, I do have a rhyming book that I'm working on that celebrates all different kinds of families, but it's displayed and illustrated through the use of animals and different animal families. So I'm excited about that. We'll continue with the goat stories and then actually working on a adult thriller series. So that is in the
Wow.
works and will hopefully be out and in the next couple months. So
Wow.
I'm trying something new, Calvin. I'm going to jump in. We're going to see what happens. It's a story in my head, and you
You
know,
said adult thriller?
mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. I love psychological thrillers. That's what I read and listen to on audiobook and I've had this story. And as Kay, our leader in the Bold Authors Network, says series are just is a great way to tell stories and get your books out. And I had this idea and why not? Let's see what happens. So it's in the works and it's been edited and it's being read right now and hopefully will be out soon. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny, listening to Kay for 13 months.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think the furthest, most remote thing I ever entertained was, like writing a romantic novel, which I
Hmm.
might do.
Yes.
Just one for the hell of it.
That's what it is. I mean, it's worth a shot. It's worth trying. If anything, again, the creative process I really enjoy, and it can be very frustrating. It can be very challenging, but the entire just creative process I love. And if you have an idea, I have very hard time letting go of it. So let me get it out, let me write it, and let's see what happens. Yeah.
So I'm going to quote right now as we've kind of finished here this round, because I'm going to invite you to come back. Actually, when this psychological thriller comes out, you can come back and we'll talk about that. But one of my favorite movies is Norma Ray, and I love that movie. Actually, it takes place in one of the Carolinas, South or North. I
Mm-hmm.
remember, but at the end, Sally Field, great actress,
Hmm.
and Ron Liebman, great actor, and they're from two different worlds. She's from Carolina, he's from New York City, and but they worked together for months and months to get this union.
Hmm.
Watch where I go with this. So at the very end of the movie, they actually were able to unionize this, based on a true story.
Hmm.
They finally unionized this textile mill, and it was great. And of course, the textile mill fought them. But anyway, they won, and now in a different world, they might have gotten married, but they're so
Yeah.
different. But anyway, Ron Lehman says to Sally Ray, and the last thing he said, knowing you and our time together has been sumptuous.
Mm.
So this interview has been sumptuous.
Oh, well, thank you. I've
Yes.
loved it. It's been wonderful.
It has been wonderful, truly, and long overdue, but we did it.
Yes.
So, yes, do come back, and for sure, and talk about some. I'm curious about what comes. Do come back, and the nice thing about this is I see you a few times a week.
Yes. Yeah.
This is great, So to be continued. Thank
Yes,
you, Natalie.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Don't leave. I'm just going to stop recording, and we'll do our 2-minute wrap.